All right, my friends, we are continuing Siman Shin Tezvav. Those are making an oil on Shabbos. And what we discussed last time was about a talis kfula, which is when you have a talis that is draped over a line, something like a clothesline or something, and it's in such a way that it does not have a tefach, not on the top. Well, the top is obviously just a line, but it doesn't spread out to a tefach within 3 of the top. So because that's only not a real, not only is it not, it's not even close to a doraisa, let's put it that way. Even if it would be, even if it would have a full tefach on the top, it wouldn't be doraisa unless it's permanent, right? Permanent means for a few days. We don't know exactly what permanent means, actually. I sent it out in the handout before that Pri Megadim says that a sukkah is permanent because it's for 8 or 9 days. I assume he means 8 days in Eretz Yisrael and 9 days in Chutz La'aretz. Which, it's
so according to mezuzah and sukkah?
No, mezuzah is 30 days. This is 30 days. But I imagine that what he means is actually 7 days, because it's either 8 or 9. What he means to say is a sukkah, which is either 8 or 9 days. So it's more than 7 days, which we find 7 days is a shear concerning some things. We're going to see about knots that are 7 days. So he considers that a oil kavua to the extent that he says it's a da'araisa. The Pri Megadim suggests Diras arai, but not oil arai. It's a diras arai. That doesn't mean it's an oil arai. An oil, by its very definition, has the connotation of something arai. Nevertheless, it's still asam d'oraisa. Actually, the Shemir Shabbos quotes of Pnei Yeshua. I put that in the handout also. That oil is not binyan. Because binyan is something that is be'etzem more permanent. An oil is be'etzem a temporary thing. Why do you make a tent? Because you can't be bothered building a whole building. So you make a tent. So it is essentially something that is less permanent than a binyan. At the same time, it's a tulda of binyan. It's not actual building, but it's somewhat like building. It's similar enough to be considered boina. But in any case, I'm just going off the discussion of talis for a minute because I discussed a few days. And I'll mention that the Pri Megadim therefore says that it would be an issur d'oraisa to put schach on a sukkah. Even if the schach is not muktzah, nothing to do with muktzah, which is not d'oraisa anyway. But I'm saying you're putting a cover, which is definitely for protection. The whole concept of a sukkah is for protection. So you're putting a cover on something that's supposed to last for more than 7 days, and it is presumably more than a tefach.
Even if it's the 7th day?
Oh, that he doesn't get into. Could be he's not talking about it. I assume in that discussion that he's talking about the first night or the first day. Probably even the first night specifically, because it's about a person who needs a sukkah and it's a mitzvah. So it's probably talking about the first night when you need to eat in the sukkah. So he says, I can't allow a shvus, one shvus. It's not a shvus to shvus, he says. Even to ask a goy to do it, it's a shaila, because it's a d'oraisa. So what's the heter? No, to put schach. Let's say all the schach fell down. No schach, 0 schach. Even to put more schach would be a shaila. Even to put more schach would be a shaila, actually. Because to add to an oil kavua, to add a kavua to an oil kavua. Yeah, exactly. He holds that it's kavua. So even to add to an oil kavua, if the addition is also kavua, is also an issur d'oraisa. Anyway, can you have a guy throw some schach on your sukkah if the wind blew it down? Yeah, the hurricane came. Nebuch, and blew your sukkah down. It happened in this year. I was walking back from Shul on the first day of Sukkot, and one of my, not next door neighbors, but a few blocks up, their sukkah was just gone. It was big winds, a lot of winds, a lot of winds, exactly.
Oh, yeah. If you go through the schach is like not sukkah. The guy in general is supposed to wear the schach.
That's only lachatchila. That's not b'diavad. It's not b'diavad. Sukkahs.
If you did, you have to lift it up.
Even that's only lachatchila. Even if you don't lift it up, you're still yaitza. Yeah? Still yaitza. Look it up. It's a Gemara. Sukkahs Ganvas Ravkash. It stands for...
But you have to put something also, or you have to put all of it? Or you have to put something?
The God can do everything to make a b'diavad sukkah. To make a lachatchila sukkah, a Jew has to put at least one piece, or pick it up and put it down. Because a sukkah has to be made for sale, for protection. And that the guy does. He knows he's making a sukkah for protection. He knows that. But lachatchila is supposed to be for the sake of a mitzvah. Right? So that's why chatchila you pick it up and put it down. But diavad, it's good anyway. Anyway, so Lamaisa, he doesn't have a head there to have a guy do it. But I looked up an interesting tshuva of the Baruch Tam, Rabbi Baruch Frankel Tu'umim, who is the author also, he's the author of the Baruch Tam, that's what he's famous for. I think it's on Safras. And he also he wrote these tshuvas, what's it called? Teres Chachamim. Anyway, he says that he doesn't understand this Pri Megadim. First of all, 7 days. Since when do you see 7 days? He says it has to be, pretty much permanent. Not forever, but it has to be permanent. He doesn't say exactly 30 days, a year. He doesn't say, but he completely rejects the notion of 7 days, which, by the way, the Pri Megadim doesn't bring a source for. He just brings it as if it's pashut. So that's first of all. Second of all, he says, what's going on? You can't hear me? What are they saying here? Can everyone online please mute their microphone? It keeps cutting into my audio for 30 seconds. I don't hear the rabbi during those 5 seconds. All right. So, the point is that the Baruch Tam says another thing. What if you tell the guy to put up thin strands that are less than a tefach wide? Here. Thin strands less than a tefach wide. So each one is not an oil, right? And we don't say lafad l'chumra, according to many opinions, right? So that can't be an issa deraisa. The Rabbanan, okay, I understand, right? But the deraisa is not going to be an issa, right? Thin, long pieces, each one less than a tefach.
When you say strands of what?
Of any schach material. I don't know.
Okay. Straw.
Take the example of the schach mats. Schach mats are actually a perfect example. They're thin, but they're not connected.
Right.
We're not saying lafad l'chumra. So each one is not a tefach.
Even if they're connected
with the string.
With the strings, but the strings are not kosher schach. That's not there for protection. It's just to hold it there.
No, so
Oh, the actual strings, you mean? What's holding it together? Yeah. Some of them are made with like reeds or whatever. But anyway, and he says even more than that. Even if you get him to put another layer in such a way that you have you have more, hit a mitzvah, you don't want to sit under, barely there, schach. Nevertheless, he says that you could take down on cholamayim because it's not essential for your sukkah. It's just there just to make you feel better. So therefore, even according to him, it doesn't have to be up there for a long time.
Schach mat would be okay then.
That's what he's suggesting for a guy, not to do yourself. Anyway, if you have a Shaila Lamaisa, ask a Rav. I'm not telling you between the Baruch Tam and the Pri Megadim, I'm not giving you a psak. Anyway.
Can you do someone hold the schach and then move the sukkah under the schach?
No. That only helps if you're not doing it l'shem oil. That whole thing is if you're making a gag and mechitzas, not l'shem oil.
The mechitza is already there. The wall. So just somebody going to hold this schach and
That whole thing is only if you're not doing it for protection. If you're doing it for something else, so then it's a problem if you're making the walls. If the walls are already there, it's no problem at all. But if you're making them both, it's a problem. So you do it with a kalach hayad, change the order, whatever. But if you're doing it for protection, it's not going to help. Because for protection, even a roof without walls is a problem. Like the rams of Rav Huna, if you remember. All he had was the mat on top, and it was a problem.
you're doing it at night, there's no protection for anything, there's no sun.
Doesn't make a difference. The etzem schach is for protection. That's what a schach is. Sukkatir letzel yoimam. There's a pasuk.
So at night, if you're putting it at night.
Doesn't make a difference. A sukkah is for protection. That's what it is. So it's like an umbrella. You know what I'm saying? You're going to say, well, now it's not raining. It doesn't make a difference. You're putting it up because you want protection for whatever thing it is. So how did I get onto this? I don't remember. Talking about the talus.
Basically, there's no item to put the schach on.
Not according to the Pri Megadim. According to the Baruch Tam, there is a heter, and
Based on?
he says it's not deraisa because it's not really permanent. And anyway, you could tell him to put it less than a tefach piece with a little space in between. So that's for sure not deraisa. Anyway, the kids are back to the talus. So this talus is midrabanan for many reasons. First of all, it's not permanent, and second of all, it doesn't have a tefach, a gag tefach. Now, if it would be permanent and it wouldn't have a gag tefach, it would also be midrabanan, by the way. In order for an oil to be midaraisa, it has to have two ingredients. It has to be A, permanent, and B, have a gag tefach. Either flat tefach or a tefach within 3 tvachim of the top. That's either one, it counts. It's interesting because here we are saying love with the chumrah. I think we asked this question last week. Here we're saying love with the chumrah. So how does that work? I don't know. Okay, so in any case, because it's a double darabanan, so therefore we have the kula that you can do it not only if you had started to already spread it out before Shabbos, but even if it was there not spread out at all, but you had a string attached to it, right, to indicate that it's there for being pulled out. I'm talking about sifyud. I'm just reviewing sifyud, correct? That's enough. That's good enough. So there's another chiddush. We haven't learned that chiddush. I mean, we learned it last week, but I'm saying before this halach, we didn't get to that. All we had was the concept of if it's spread out a tefach, you can spread it out more. Now we have a concept that even just a string to help you counts. But again, that's only if there's no gag tefach.
What was the chiddush?
The chiddush was that if it's not going to be a roof of a tefach, it's not going to be a gag of a tefach, so then you could spread it out, even if it was not spread out a tefach when Shabbos came in, as long as you had a little string or handle on it to indicate that this is going to be pulled, that's enough.
So, any practical examples?
I don't really have any practical examples.
Why? Let's say if you build a sukkah and you have the part that is going to be rolled out.
Is not gonna help you because that's a tefach. It's a flat tefach. Way more than a flat tefach.
No, let's say it's rolled out. Whole thing's rolled out.
When you unroll it, it's going to be a flat tefach.
All this is if you're not getting to it.
All this is the talus that's like this.
You mean the strings that touch over here or touch over here? Or doesn't matter?
None of it makes a difference.
As long as you can
Yeah,
spend.
yeah.
There's no tefach. No tefach over here.
There's no tefach on the top, and there's no tefach within 3 of the top. It spreads very, very narrow, very tight angle. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not really going to help you for a sukkah. Okay, my friends.
What were the two
And-
things you said that had to be Ohel Dorais? It had to be a Gog Kavua and a
I got to
Tefach?
give you some volume. Give me a moment, please.
Okay.
Go ahead one more time.
Yeah. So you said to be Ohel Dorais, it has to be a Gog Kavua and at least a Tefach, right?
Yes.
Those are the two main ingredients.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, for your information, if something is an actual binyan, if you actually build something like with hammer and nails and you knock it in, it doesn't make a difference if it's a gag tefach or not, because that's binyan. Binyan doesn't have rules of a gag tefach, unless it's rule forbidden. Here we're talking about an oil. You're making a tent, so it's not really knocked into the ground in a permanent way. Nevertheless, if you make a structure that resembles an oil, or that looks like an oil with a gag tefach, and you plan to keep it there indefinitely, that's an Issur D'Oraisa. And if it has that look, but it doesn't have a gag tefach, then it's Issur D'Rabbanan, because it's not an actual binyan. Yes. If what?
So the strings that you're talking about, there's an handle. Like they have the mechitza over here, the cord on the mechitza.
Same thing. Handles the same thing. Yeah. Yeah. Something that shows that you're planning to. We're good. We're good.
The police?
Is it the police? Maybe it's the police. We're good. Hello. The alarm went off. The alarm went off, but I told the rabbi to answer your call. And
They never canceled us. Do you have your ID with you by any chance?
I do. Yeah, I'm not the rabbi of the synagogue, though.
No, it's okay. It's just show them.
Sorry.
That's fine.
Supposed to have 60 seconds when I come in to punch in, but before I can punch in, the alarm went off. Maybe like 2 seconds.
Out there.
That's all right. Happens all the time. What's a good phone number for you?
786 316 5934.
And were you here? You're the.
I just do a class here on Monday and Tuesday nights.
Okay.
So,
What kind of class?
Jewish law.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, I can give you the rabbi's number if you want.
What's his name?
Wolf,
Wolf.
Eli Wolf.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Very comforting how long it took them. Now that I think about it.
It's better than last time. Last time it took them an hour.
Yeah.
Last time they came in with their guns drawn. That was something.
Yeah, because the window was open.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah. The opposite. Don't you?
Yeah, it was scary.
So, I didn't realize they were supposed to call them.
Yeah, normally, once the alarm goes off,
We're supposed to
the
call
alarm
them.
the alarm company calls the contact and said, we have an alarm, do you want the police?
All right, I
to
told
step in?"
Rabbi Wolf that he should expect a call,
So maybe he.
but they said they didn't.
They didn't answer it, so they
No, they said that they didn't call them. Like there's somebody's supposed to call them to preempt it. Anyway, whatever. Nothing to do. $150 bites the dust. So, what was I saying? Oh, the talus, yeah. So, yeah, it's hard to give a practical example of this because it only applies with you don't have a tefach. Okay. Well, yeah, the Al Erba says something else interesting about this, that this is a unique case.
Is it only if it's a couple, if it's not couple, so there's no problem, or it's have to be couple?
If it's not kafel, then it's a mechitza, then it's not a gag.
Yeah, but I believe there's no gag anywhere because there's no tefach and not.
I know. There is a gag, it's just not a tefach.
So,
I know, it's important. There is a gag, it's just not a tefach. If you have a sheet that goes in a diagonal down like that, and there's no second sheet, and it goes at a diagonal, so there's no one tefach flat within three, that's not a gag at all. Let's say that's not a gag at all. That's mutter. The whole thing that a gag less than a tefach is also rabbanon is if there's a gag. It's less than a tefach, but there's a gag. If there's no gag at all, it's mutter gomer.
so the bathroom spring, you have the bar, it's less than a tefach, so you consider it as a gag. And it's only one on rings. You can open and close it. Or not, or you have to have a string attached to it. You would consider the.
Well, you could for sure open and close it. What's the question? Talking about a bar, like a shower curtain bar?
Yeah.
Sure, you can open and close it. Why not? Talking about just a curtain, open and close.
Yeah.
That's just a pure curtain. That's a pure curtain. There's no gag there at all.
You have the bar, it's not like less than a tefach.
You're not taking the bar away.
But over here, also, in this case, you don't take the bar away. You don't take the roof away. The roof exists. It's just the pallet is squished to one side. So
אני לא הבנתי
just one
בכלל.
side,
אני לא
why
הבנתי
this one
בכלל.
is
וואו, אני לא הבנתי בכלל. When the talus is on one side, there is no roof. There's just a string. There's no roof. When you
It
pull,
have to be a string, so it can be a bar also. Piece of wood that is sitting on. That is less than a tefach. It have to be sitting on a rope, on a string, so it can be anything that is less than a tefach.
why should it make a difference if the string is something else? Why should it make a
No,
difference?
because saying like even the string there's a roof. It's considered as a roof. Why do we
The
consider
string is a roof?
This is what you just said with the talib. There is a roof.
No, not the string. The string is not the roof. The fact that the talus itself, when you pull it out, you could go beneath it. You have something on top of you protecting you. The two sides of the talus together are a
We
roof.
said even less than tefach is still going to be, there's no tefach, so basically it's.
There's no tefach, but less than a tefach is also something rabbanon. Less than a tefach of roof is also rabbanon. If just a mechitza, even a slanted mechitza is not even asman rabbanon. Less than a tefach of roof is asman rabbanon. See what I'm saying? If you just have one side of that talus and no other side, that is not called a roof.
So basically you cannot hang the towel, let's say, in the bathroom on the bar with it. Half an hour.
Whoa.
Can you? Something putting a towel on it.
Where'd you get that from?
Let's ask him. Why? Why, guys?
So how about a tablecloth? Can you put a tablecloth on a table? Yes or no?
Good. So
So why? What's the difference?
it's already a table, it's already set already found. There's no tefach between the table and,
Thank you very much. So the same with the towel.
but not in between.
Yeah, but there you're not doing it for protection. This talus you are doing for protection. Al-Tarab said clearly, you're going into sleep there. This whole thing is only because you're doing it for protection. If you make walls without a roof and you're not doing it for protection, mutter gomer. That's why you can make a tablecloth, because the roof is already there and the walls are not for protection.
But if you go to sleep under it, it could be that the space not going to be more than a tefach in the tzitfachim, because when you go to sleep under it, you're expanding the space between the two pieces.
Okay, that's another question. How do you make sure it doesn't open up? I don't know. That's another question. Maybe it's very tall. I don't know. Okay. So we are going to continue with Yud Aleph. Kilas Chasanim. Yud Aleph the Mechaber. Kilas Chasanim Shem Megaga Tefach. Kilas chasanim. Let me see how they translate it here.
Basically, it's like
The curtain of a bridal bed. Curtain of a bridal bed. It's basically
two stick, one stick in the middle, and the seams fall.
exactly. It's like the talis kfula that we spoke about.
You had sound it in the sukkah. If you sleep under it on sukkah, so you just
Exactly, because it doesn't have a tefach, it doesn't have a roof, so it's not a real oil. Shem b'ag tefach, it doesn't have a tefach. But leibu pachas b'shlosh samach lagag aruch of tefach. Nor does it have a tefach within 3 of the top. Hoyoshim zukenes lakach, because it's prepared for this. Mutter and toisa mutter lefarka. You're allowed to spread it out, and you're allowed to take it down.
when you say spread out, it's going to be basically it's going to cause more than one tefach and it's fine.
No, it's going to be less than a tefach. Okay, so here's my understanding of this halacha.
If it's like this, you're allowed to make it like this.
No. Here's my understanding of this
You're
halacha.
going to sit just above it.
Here's my understanding of this halacha. What you have here is something that is even less than the talis kfula. The talis kfula before Shabbos, you already had the string, except that it was bunched up on one side, and you had a handle, and you're going to pull it out. The kilas chasanim is not even on the bed; it's on the side. The bed is here. The kilas chasanim is here.
We cannot see.
You lift it up, and you put it over the bed. Again,
I saw this part of the bed already.
no, I don't think so. I don't think so. My understanding of this is,
The two sticks is like attached to the bed, and the one in the middle, just like you have this kind of springs that falling on.
you think the sticks are there and he's just putting up the thing on top of it? Let's see.
This is what I remember from Sukkah.
I don't think so, but let me read the Machaber, and then let's read the Alter Rebbe, and hopefully Rabbi Tauber, whatever his name is, will give us a good translation. Tauber. Hoshi Musukanas Takach Mutul Taisa Mutul Forka, Ushle Tay Mishal Shelas, Shaloi Tay Mishal Shelas Me'al Hamita Tefach.
this was a Mishnah Berurah. עץ אחד עומד לראש המיטה, גבוה מהמיטה, וכן עומד עץ במדורות המיטה, ומות נתון עליהם. ופרוס על עמוד ויום גדול. ושני ראשים יורדים מכאן ומכאן, כמין אוהל על פני כל המיטה.
I don't know if that's the shot. Standard taking it out. So it's prepared number on the bed for this specific purpose.
He doesn't say.
My understanding was that even the poles are not attached, and you take them down and put them back. But you're saying maybe it's only the curtain. What they say here in the Gemara. Give me a second.
It's two poles we're talking about, two and four.
It's
Two and then one.
it's
below.
2 poles and then one on top.
So it's a.
Like a roach.
Sorry?
Here you go.
I mean, it's similar to what we had until now. It's basically going to be it's like a curtain that comes down on both sides.
You just pull here,
Pull there.
and
Some kind of
on top of it.
something holding it up. Exactly.
The Boy Scouts.
Sorry?
It's a Boy Scout cap.
Yeah. Ay, 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 ay. Yeah, he doesn't spell it out, but I think you're right. He says it's like the Pakak HaChaloin that the Chachamim were matir. What's the Pakak HaChaloin? Where you have a window and you have a board that you are going to use to board up that window. And as long as that Pakak is prepared for it and it's attached to it and there's a string attaching it, showing that it's part of it, so it's mutter. So I'm thinking that that's what it means here, that the structure shows that the curtain belongs there. Something like that. I think you're right. I think that's the trend. Since the structure is there, so it shows that the curtain belongs there.
So when he said, it means that to open like this or to expand it this way?
No, to actually take the curtain from the cupboard and put it up there. You're actually taking it for the first time, putting it up there, or pulling it out. It doesn't mean expanding it. No, you can't expand. The roof has to be less than a tefach, all these things. But you're allowed to actually put it up, or actually, you know what? Maybe not. Let's see the Alter Rebbe. Let's see if the Alter Rebbe gives us a clarity here. Kilos Chasanim, Yud Chesn Alter Rebbe. The curtain of a bridal bed. Shein begaga tefach lepachas shleisha samuch legaga tefach. That does not have a tefach on the roof, nor does it have a tefach within 3 of the roof. Here's the punchline that makes it all mutter. Since it is prepared and hung around the bed for this specific purpose, it is permissible to extend it and take it down on Shabbos, since it is prepared and hung around the bed for this specific purpose. Extend and taken down. Extend and taken down. So maybe it means simply that it's there. You're not actually taking the whole thing down. You're just removing it all, taking it all off to one side, or pulling it all back. This is just a slight bigger chiddush than the previous case. The previous case was that if you have a talis and it has a handle, you can pull it across. Here, it doesn't have a handle, but the structure itself shows you can tell that it's on a bed and it has the post and it has the curtain. And clearly it's meant to be pulled across, so therefore you can do it even without the handle. That's all. And I don't know if it's talking about to take it from the cupboard and put it up. It doesn't say that. Let's just...
Instead it's not showing that it's going to be spread out.
Right, or maybe not this one. Let's just keep it with the same chiddush as before, except that you don't need to have a handle. It's there already. You don't have to have a handle because the structure itself shows that it's made for that. Okay, now we learn an interesting chiddush that if this kila, which starts here goes at a very not wide angle. What's the opposite of wide angle? Sharp angle, very narrow angle. So that reaches the bed. So far, so good. Everything's fine. Now, if it goes beneath the bed, a tefach, if it hangs down from the sides of the bed, a tefach on each side, all of a sudden you're going to have a problem.
Not inside the bed, it should be tefach in the tefach from the floor.
Well, of course, there has to be a tefach to the floor. That's what it means. A tefach.
No, it can, because if the bed is high, it goes tefach to the bed, but it doesn't reach.
Doesn't have to reach the floor. Doesn't have to reach the floor.
It has to be more than a tefach.
More than a tefach. More than a tefach down from the side of the bed. That's all. Whether it reaches the floor or not, that's a problem. As long as it doesn't go down from the side of the bed at tefach. Now we're going to explain what do we care about the stuff hanging on the side of the bed. I mean, you make your bed in the morning. Maybe you don't on Shabbos, but there's a heter to make your bed on Shabbos if you can hang out in your bedroom and you want to have a nice looking bedroom. So you make your bed on Shabbos. Wow. What if it's hanging down? Well, it's hanging down, big deal. I'm not making a mechitza. I have no intent, right? That's an unintended mechitza, and the roof's already there, like we said with the tablecloth.
Yeah, but with the bed, it's different from this case.
Why?
Because the bed, there's no space between the bed cover and the mattress himself.
Okay, but here.
But over here, you have in between.
I understand that, but this is mutter because it's already prepared for that. We said. And this, I mean, underneath here, you're not using it for protection. There's nothing doing there. I mean, the truth is, you can't make the bed with the sides, we said, even if there's nothing doing there, because you can't make walls and sides, even if you're not using it as protection. Okay, but the roof is already there. I mean, the truth is what you're saying is what we're going to say, but I'm just presenting the question. So here's their explanation. Listen here. The top part, which is this kila, is technically an oil because you put it up there to protect you from the sun. If you happen to have a skylight and the sun is, coming into your bedroom. Or, you want protection, privacy, whatever it is, mosquitoes, who knows what. The yeshem oil. So therefore it has the status of an oil. Hello, shein lagag, but it doesn't have a roof. Now, since it goes down from the bed of tefach. So now the bed is going to be considered a roof for the tefach that's around the bed. The bed is not made for protection. There's no name of oil on it, but nevertheless, oil al kir tefach zeh, shu mechlal akila ha'asuya. Lahogen yesh kan oil in gag. Here's the thing. If you would look at this bed, wait 1 second. If you would look at this bed with these curtains hanging down the side, you would say that's nothing. This is not for protection, and this is not intended for protection either. Nothing. But considering that these curtains are a continuation of the kila, which is there for protection, now there you have the technicality that you don't have the roof. That's a tefach. Plus, it's asuya lakach. It's made for it. So it's like it has a handle. You can make it. But when it comes to the continuation of the kila, which is going beneath the bed, where you do have the roof of a tefach, and in general this kila is put up for protection, now we're going to forbid it. Because you have a roof tefach, even though it's not an intended roof, but the intention of protection in general is there. Plus, you have a roof tefach, you have a problem.
The word and say, it means that when this killer is sitting down, they might want to sit on the bed. You're allowed to move it to the side of the bed to have a better protection, as long as it doesn't go down from the bed to tefach. Or from that said, you're allowed to.
Nah.
No?
Some go. It doesn't say it. It doesn't say
No,
it.
so what he refers to?
What's not to the
Back and forth. It's a hamshach to what we were saying before. Before we spoke about the talis kfula, right? Talis kfula. Look back.
Yeah, but like in the Mechaber said in Simon Tet, כל אוהל שאין בגגות טפח ושאול פחד טפח, מותר בדמתו מותר לפחות. זה במחבר said. It's considered as oil already because there's no...
Okay, then he doesn't say lentoisel nefork. He says mutter lemashcha. Okay, I thought he... An alter Rebbe, yud to zayin. He doesn't say lentoisel nefork. He says lemashcha. Okay, but it's the same concept. Same concept. Okay, I mean, if we would have a source for what you're saying, that's something else, but it doesn't say it.
Trying to understand what...
It means the same as we had before, spreading it out and putting it back. Alamita shemaleh kila. Now,
Okay.
the truth is that that's why I thought when I was learning this that it meant to actually take it from cover and put it up. You can actually take you can take a curtain and put it up because the structure itself shows that it belongs there. But I don't see anybody spelling it out, so I don't know if it's right.
Back in the beginning of this, of 18, or even the other one, it says the curtain, the bridal bed does not have a roof, a handbreadth wide, or a span a handbreadth wide. What is this span is talking about?
The beginning of 18?
Yes.
Or span a handbreadth wide within 3 handbreadths of its top. That means that if you have this, for example, this is your angle, right? So if it starts to get wide within 3 handbreadths of the top, and within that space it has the width of a tefach, so then we're going to consider it as if it has a flat tefach on the top, and it's a problem. See what I'm saying? Parshas Vayechi. I hope they don't need this for next year. Okay, so here we have it. This is the top of the kila. If it's a wide, if it's flat, of course you have a flat tefach. So now if it starts to get less flat, at what point do you say that you don't have a flat roof? I mean, it's not flat, but what if it's 180 degrees is obviously a flat tefach. What if it's 170? What if it's 160? What if it's 150, 140, 90, 80, 70? At what point do you say that it doesn't have a roof? So the angle has to be, I'm not good with trigonometry, but if I were good, I would be able to tell you what angle it has to be. The angle has to be that you don't have a flat tefach within the first 3 of the top of that angle. So that's the type of triangle you have to have at the top. See what I'm saying?
So the top has to have a roof. It says the curtain that does not have the curtain of a bridal bed does not have a roof of a tefach wide.
Exactly.
So that means it's like a very narrow.
Exactly.
Or a span of a handbreadth wide within 3 handbreadths of its top. So exactly. It's kind of like what we've been talking about before, but this is just this other case because it's on this kind of bed.
Same exact case as the talis kfula, as the talus that's over a string, except that here we have an additional heter because you have this set up with these poles, so it looks like it belongs there. So you're allowed to pull it out or put it back even without having any kind of string or something that indicates that it's going to be pulled. Just because you have the structure shows that it belongs there, and therefore you can extend it or pull it back. Yeah.
The third floor, I should take in the tree stock and put a plate, flip or plate push. So to be sure that we're gonna get more than 6 parking. Then the rest, you're allowed to open it.
I don't see why not. I don't see why not. Although, honestly, if at any point it becomes 1 tefach within 3, you know what I'm saying? There you have it from the top. What if you just have it like this? You just have a bent roof. So how does it work? How do you judge if it's considered a problem or not? My understanding of it is, at any point, if the angle is such that within 3 of itself, it's a tefach wide, that's a problem. See what I'm saying?
Not from the top, not from where is it touching the beginning, where the place considers the roof.
Well, if it has it from the top, it'll have it from the side.
No,
it's a straight angle.
No,
So.
If the switch button you don't have, there's a touch like this, so switch button, but then after the switch button, it's going to be expand more than switch button. Should be a problem or not?
So that's what I'm saying.
If yes, why?
Okay, so if it starts out with a tight angle,
yes,
so there's no roof over there,
yeah,
then
after switch button,
and then you make it wide over here, right?
yeah.
So if you get to 1 tefach wide within 3 tefachim of here, of where you start to, so that'll be another problem for this space itself. Yeah. So it's going to have to stay at a sharp angle,
Yeah, but
to the extent you'll never have
but
that.
the space over here, it doesn't consider the roof at all. No roof, not even.
Why not?
It's an empty space, basically.
What do you mean it's an empty space? You're sleeping under there. Why is it empty?
No, like from the one for the top, you have like 3 spots between, let's say, the strings of the barger over here, and there's like 3 spots from over here, and then after 3 spots, you start to expand.
I understand, but from that expansion, if it starts to go flat, and you have a flat tefach within 3 of that expansion, that itself can be a roof. Just like you would. Let me ask you something else. It has a tight thing, and then you make it flat, like that. Problem or no? Like this. Problem or no? Yeah, of course. So I'm saying just like this is a problem. So if it's very slight, in such a way that you have a tefach within 3 of this, same problem. You know what I'm saying? Okay.
You're making it go flat like that, or it's going flat on its own, from use, from gravity, from material unraveling?
No.
Does it matter?
No, presumably you're making it. Presumably you're building the bed in such a way.
Like this, and then you're.
That's what he's asking.
It that way.
That's what he's asking. It's not going to happen.
What if you did have it, and then the bottom becomes detached, the hem, and then it goes underneath, right? That's the other case. Or it just gravity makes it go something, or.
I need a specific question.
You didn't.
I need a specific question.
So if you have a package outside your house against the wall, right? You cannot just take another anything material and put it to protect against the rain. Like just lean against the wall and just put it like this. And the package is over there. This is considered as an oil law. Interesting. But in the 3 spots, you're gonna have it.
If it's going to be a tefach within 3, yeah, it's going to be a problem.
Then it's going to be with a chair or a table or a box. Doesn't matter what.
If it's for protection, a tefach within 3 is a problem. I'm just thinking, even if it's not a tefach within 3, if it's for protection, and it's a roof, because it is a roof.
If it has to be at least a tefach or
Tefach is for
tefach on to its fach.
no, tefach is for doraisa. Less than tefach is asam rabbanon. Now, when it's only asam rabbanon, we can give you a heter that if it has a handle, you could pull it out. If it's set up, so it looks like it's supposed to be there, you can set it up. But if it's not set up, if you're taking a chair that until now was supposed to be a chair for you to sit on, and now you're leaning it against something for protection, even if it's not a tefach roof, it's a
So
problem.
what's the Mashaber meant when you say, since and this is a place in the tefach will consider oil arai and mutar not a proper, no?
That's if it's not for protection.
Doesn't mention protection. Not.
Okay, that's why I need the alter rebbe.
משפט לגגות טפח ולא פחות מגיב לזה סמוך לגגו רוחב טפח, הרי זה כל הרעי ועושה אותו התחילה בשבת.
מה זה פטור? פטור זה פטור אבל אסור. פטור אבל אסור. אסור ברבנן. Actually, this is a machlokes alter Rebbe Mishnah Berurah. Now that you're pointing it out, it's actually a machlokes alter Rebbe Mishnah Berurah, and this will be a big nafkamina, huge nafkamina, my friends. The Mishnah Berurah would allow you to put that chair up. Actually, I'm just realizing. The Alter Rebbe holds that the Isser Midrabanan, when there's an oil of less than a tefach, applies as long as you want it for protection, even if it has no kiyum whatsoever. Even if it's just for a minute, for an hour, makes no difference. Alter Rebbe says it's only if it's for kiyum kama yamin. It has to be for a few days. So the mashma.
able to put this support to protect the package?
No, according to the Mishnah Berurah, you can. Alter Rebbe says if it's for protection, afilu enai asu lekiyum klal. The Mishnah Berurah says even if you have no intention to leave it there for any kiyum, there's a little rain shower coming, sun shower, 10 minutes. I'm going to take it down right away. No, it's for protection. Even less than a tefach roof is a problem. The Mishnah Berurah says that it's talking about if it's asuya lekama yama. Some for a few days. It's not permanent, but it has some permanence. So that's actually a very interesting nafkamina. I didn't think of it. I put it in the sheet, but I didn't think of a practical example. So that's an example. Very good. All right. So
I've been reading over this, still trying to picture it. So is this kind of like a tent, basically, which just extends down over the bed?
Exactly, a narrow angle tent.
So there's no poles, it's just a tent, and it's not supposed to hang down really below the surface of the bed. So it's just going to the flesh of the bed, because then once it goes down below those sides, then you have the problem of making an OL. Okay.
Exactly.
Thanks.
Correct. Okay. We didn't finish the Alter Rebbe, so let's continue the Alter Rebbe. Ya ba 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 ba, ya ba ba. Halmita shenala kilo. Al pi shasarna persela yor mimena teva lomat mitem kol tzada im kachlum. Shav shamita nasas gag lekir tafach. זה הרי אין כאן שם אוהל כלל, לא אל טבח זה ולא אל המיתה. גם זה מותר לפריס מפה לשלוח מתחיל בשבס, אף על פי There is, by contrast, no halachic difficulty concerning a bed that does not have a curtain, even though the sheet that is spread over it descends a handbreadth beneath the bed from all sides. Although the bed becomes a roof for this wall, that is a handbreadth in length, neither the handbreadth of the curtain nor the bed is categorized as a shelter. For this reason, it was permitted to spread a tablecloth over a table initially on Shabbos, even when it descends a handbreadth below the table on all sides. Okay, my friends, we're going to take a little break from beds and canopies. I'm going to talk about hats. And then we're going to talk a little bit about umbrellas. And hopefully we'll get to baby carriages, maybe today, maybe next week. Maybe tomorrow, as well as finish the simon, hopefully. Okay, my friends. So, the section about hats is actually in Siman Shin Aleph. And here's what it says about hats. I'm just going to read to you the Gemara. Yeah, I'm going to read it inside, actually. But first, I want to just tell you what the Gemara says. I think it's Nun Aleph. Maybe Nun Aleph. Rav Sheish, the son of Rav Idi, says, it's the Gemara in Shabbos Kuf Lamed Ches Amud Beis, that a felt hat that is a tefach is a problem. A felt hat that sticks a tefach out is a problem. And the Gemara says, well, how can you say that? What about your talis? Are you saying it's a problem to stick your talis out of tefach? That can be. So the Gemara says, Hada mehadik, hada le mehadik. It depends if it's tight or if it's not tight. Now there's two opinions about how to understand this Gemara. Opinion of Rashi and the opinion of Rabbeinu Hanano. Rashi says the Gemara is backing off the whole concept of oil being a problem for hats. It's no problem to wear any kind of hat. It's not an oil. It's not permanent. It walks around with you. Oil can't be something that walks around with you. That's not an oil. Rather, what it is that if it's not tight, it may blow off your head, and you may run after it and carry it on Shabbos. According to Rashi, the Gemara is backing down from the whole oil hat issue, and it's simply a carrying issue. When Hanano says, no, you got it wrong. It depends. If it's a tight material that's not going to bend. No, not snug on your head. It's just a tight material. It means it's an expression for a hard material, as opposed to one that's bendable. That's all. The talis, that has no substance to it. But a hard hat, it doesn't specify how hard exactly, but a felt hat, a cowboy hat, one that doesn't easily bend, that's a problem, according to Rabbeinu Hanan. So,
weren't they both talking about the same material?
It means tight. It's like tight. So it's tight within itself, not tight to you, but it's firm. I'm sorry?
Weren't they both referring to the same material? It was both felt.
Yeah. So one is firm and one is not firm. You used it so much that it lost its shape. It happens to the best of hats after a few years. So you know what? Instead of me giving you my opinion, let us actually learn the Alter Rebbe Shin Aleph. And that will incorporate the opinions of Rashi or Ben Chananel, as well as the Taz and the Magen Avraham. Is it Memches? Is that what it is?
הקו הגדול שאנחנו עושים עליו, יש כדי לעשות עליו כל הזמן.
Let me just scroll down to it. Okay, here it goes. I'm just going to read the English, forgive me. On Shabbos, it is forbidden to wear a large, broad-brimmed hat that one places on his head, to shade his face, to protect him from the sun, or to protect himself from flies or the like. Similarly, this prohibition extends to all other entities worn by a person with the intent that they shield him and protect him from another external factor. This ruling applies even inside a house, if the brim extends a handbreadth by a handbreadth beyond his head, because of the prohibition against erecting a tent. This prohibition applies even when only the brim extends beyond the person's face.
Sounds like a baseball hat.
That the combination of soft and hard. The brim is hard, but the rest is soft.
It's used for.
Baseball hats are particularly problematic because they do not satisfy the Taz's consideration. I'm going to get to the Taz in a minute. So, when does the above apply? When this extending handbreadth is firm and strong and does not droop downwards. If, however, it droop downwards, it is not classified as a tent and is permitted to wear it, even if it extends much more than a handbreadth around its entire head. For this reason, it is permitted to spread a talus over one's head, even though it extends far beyond one's head, unless it is made from a very firm fabric called grub grain, which was some kind of felt. Our authorities maintain that our sages only prohibited wearing a hat with a very firm brim, which is like a roof. Since it is not easily bent, it is categorized as a tent. If however it is not very firm, which is like a hard hat, the construction workers wear. If however it is not very firm, it is not categorized as a tent, and one is permitted to wear it. Okay, so there you see one leniency. It has to be very hard according to some. There's another authority who was even more lenient. It maintains that a hat is not categorized as a tent and is permitted to wear it, even when the rib is very firm. If it does not extend straight out, it does not lie flat, but rather slants downwards. Okay, so any kind of slant. Notice he doesn't say what is the angle. If it slants, it's not straight, it's no problem. It is preferable to be stringent with regard to all the above. The brim should droop downwards by itself. In such an instance, if the person raises it and causes it to lie flat by his hand, there's no consequence. It's just, if it's something that droops and you physically hold it up, no problem, just like a talus. All the above applies when he puts it on the head to serve as a shelter to protect him from something. If, however, he merely intends to cover his head, even though the shelter is created around him, as a matter of consequence, it is of no consequence. As a matter of course, it's of no consequence. Rationale is that it is not forbidden to make a tent that does not have walls around it unless he intends to create a shelter, as will be explained in section 315.11. This is the header of the Taz. Listen carefully. I don't know. Does it have to be down or could it be up also? I imagine up is also the same thing. The point is it shouldn't be flat.
Okay.
Thank you. So the Taz says, when you have a hat that goes all the way around, you're not putting it up specifically for protecting yourself. You're putting it up because you want to wear a hat. You just want to wear a hat. It so happens that part of it, this part, is actually protecting your eyes from the sun. But that's secondary to the general purpose of wearing a hat. That's like a davar she'eino miskaven. That's like an unintended consequence. Your main objective is to wear a hat. You want to look like a mensch. By the way, you're getting some protection. Fine. That's a davar she'eino miskaven. And based on this, the Taz says, if you have a hat that extends out only over your eyes, that's a problem. That's where a baseball cap is a problem, actually. Because a baseball cap is specifically shielding that area. It's not just a hat. Now, that being said, you have the other hat there. Maybe it's not very hard, and it's not like a hard hat. And then you have the opinion of Rashi, which we haven't even mentioned yet, that Rashi holds the whole thing is not about this. It's just about it flying away in the wind. Okay, but according to the Taz, it's a problem. It's just over there.
What were the hats like that they were talking about at the time of the Gemara? I mean, they clearly weren't those hats. It's a European invention.
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Even a big,
helps.
even a big Strymel could be a problem.
A picture of the hats of those days. Sorry?
Even a big Strymel could be a problem, I guess.
No, the Strymels are soft.
Oh, they're soft. That's right. So that's how they get around it.
Yeah.
But are they heavy?
Also don't stick out, they just be up.
Depends.
There's still one microphone not muted that still keeps cutting out. Okay, the guys on the computer should keep yourself muted unless you're asking a question, please. I'm sorry?
Right, go straight up, you don't have to worry about it.
What's that?
Strymel.
The Spuddick goes straight up.
Oh, that's
The Strymel has the fur around it,
Right.
but that's not firm at all. That's not firm. Okay, for this reason, I'm reading 49 out there, but for this reason, it's permitted to wear a large hat of felt called a bright light is common in some places, even though it contains firm cardboard, causing its brim to become very firm and stand level. Nevertheless, it's permitted since the person wearing it does not intend to create a tent merely to cover his head. Moreover, in places where it's customary to rule in all instances and permit wearing such hats, even one intends to create a shelter, the people should not be admonished, since they have an authority on whom to rely, because there are authorities who permit wearing such hats in all circumstances. That's Rashi. Rashi says there's no issue with hats and
It's
oil.
about caring.
Exactly. They maintain that our sages. What?
It's not right.
That's the next thing. They maintain that our sages did not decree this as forbidden because it resembles making a tent, since one wears that as a garment. All the above applies with regard to wearing a hat inside a house. It is therefore forbidden to wear a large hat over a small hat worn on one's head, meaning to say over a yarmulke, and to go out to the public men wearing both hats, even though the brim of the large hat does not extend the handbreadth beyond one's head. There's reason to concern. Perhaps the wind will blow the large hat off his head. He will forget and carry it 4 cubits. Much to wear such hand is granted only if it is either tightly fastened or it's deep and a goodly part of one's head fits inside it, so the wind will not be able to blow off its head. Permitted to wear such a hat if it is tied with a strap under his chin. That's where you get this little
That little thing
for.
that's on the other side.
This is to make Rashi happy, by the way.
Yeah.
You thought it was just like a decoration. Oh no, this is for
Well,
Rashi.
the button part.
You're supposed to take off and put it in your lapel, which is another reason why you have these. If you ever
That's
wondered,
right.
this is all for Rashi.
Yeah.
This is for Rashi. This you
It is,
attach
yeah.
the hat.
Well,
Rashi says that it has to be tight. Or Rashi doesn't say this, but they say there has to be something that ties it in place. If it's tied in place,
the whole idea is that if
it's permissible to wear such a hat if it is
you won't have to
tied
take it
with
out.
a strap under his chin. Rashi doesn't say that, but the Mefarshim say that. As long as it's tied, it's good enough.
But it will hang. No one does it. But
You
no one
won't,
does
you
it.
won't carry it is the point. You won't carry
But
it.
no one does it.
Well, if there's an error, then the whole thing is not really an issue.
I've never seen it.
No, never seen it. Except in yeshiva when we were new with our hats and we were trying to figure
And
out
then
all
you
the,
break it
different,
anyway.
all the different things you can do with it. Okay, so this is the story with the hat. So you have Rashi permits it, Rabbi Chananel forbids it, but then the task comes along and says if it's not only above your eyes, and you're not specifically intended for protection, it's okay. And we have some that say it has to be hard, very hard. Some say it has to be flat. Okay,
But Rashi's the only one that says it's a carrying issue.
Yeah.
Those are all OHL issues.
correct. So now we come to the Noda B'Yehuda. Noda B'Yehuda was a Recheskel Lander of Prague, 18th century. And he was asked a shaila by a Rav who said, this new invention, umbrella thing, parasol, they called it. And people are starting to use it. Some people started to use it on Shabbos. And there was a Rav who said it's allowed. And he gave different reasons. He said it's not called an oil, it's too temporary. Because you're just carrying it, it has no permanence. And plus, because it's so easy to open, so it's like a talus that's prepared with a strap, with a string. So that Rav allowed it. And this other Rav was asking anybody for his opinion. And then Yehuda says, he gives credit to that Rav. He says, I can see that he knows what he's talking about. Nevertheless, he got it wrong. And he says, in my community, they also started to use it in Shabbos, and I stopped them, and I explained to them it's not allowed, and it could even be a chi of chatas. So he goes on to explain. No, he's obviously talking about a case where they have an Erev. Obviously a case where they have an Erev. Otherwise, there's no point. I mean, what are you going to do with an umbrella in your front yard? Unless they have an Erev. So here's the thing. As far as the fact that something that walks around with you is not an oil, which was what that other Rav suggested, he said, we see from the whole sugi with hats that that's not true. According to Rashi, maybe. Even Rashi, he questions. But according to Rashi, maybe, fine. But the Shulchan Aruch doesn't pass like Rashi. The Shulchan Aruch passes like Rabbeinu Hananel, that says that a hat is a problem. Now, there may be other heterim that apply over there, but those don't even apply over here. So that's first of all. Rashi, he says anyway, Rashi is talking about when it's just a roof and it doesn't have mechitzas. An umbrella, he says, has a roof and has mechitzas. Listen to this. Listen to this. Another Buddha says, if you have a dome, kippah, right? If you have a dome and it spreads out to a tefach square, and then it continues to go down another tefach, you will consider the top as the gag, and the continuation down on the sides as a mechitza.
Just one tefach?
One tefach of roof and one tefach of mechitza.
Even if it's connected?
Even if it's
one
connected.
Piece of...
Absolutely. He says, just like we find by sukkah. Now, the truth is, sukkah has other issues because you need the mechitzas to reach the floor. He says, over here, we don't find the mechitzas have to reach the floor. I mean, the truth is, in some places, it says that it has to. But he just goes with that gang, that mechitzas don't have to reach the floor. But we see from sukkah the idea that you don't have to have a separate roof and wall. If you have a sukkah like a teepee, right, made of straw, you make a sukkah of, reeds like a teepee. That's a kosher sukkah. You're going to consider the top part as your roof. You can consider the bottom part as your walls, as long as you have the shear, right? You have walls that are 7 12 up, and then you can consider the top to be the roof. It's no problem. It doesn't have to bend at any point, and it doesn't have to be a sign, this is roof. No, we consider it. So therefore, he says, even Rashi might say that it's a problem. Because over here, you can consider the top of the umbrella like a wall, like a roof, and the sides of it like a mechitza. Now, the truth is, he does play with the question of, does it have to reach the floor or not? Some sources say yes, some sources say no. So he leaves that as a little bit of an open question. That maybe to be also the eraisa would have to reach the floor. He's not sure about that. So, and then he goes through all the possible heteri. This is a classic tshuva. A classic tshuva, in order for the author to prove his point, has to go through all the possible arguments that you might have with his position and refute them, right? Otherwise, it's just an opinion and somebody else can disagree. But he explains why his opinion is correct. That's a whole other story. So he goes through all the possibilities. He says, maybe you'll say it's mutter because of because of the string on the talus, which we said allows you to open the talus. So just like a string on the talus, so to the umbrella, where it's all you just open it up. It's clear. It's like a string. It's made for that. I mean, they didn't have the clickers where you just clicked it on. You still had to spread it out and whatever, but it was clearly made for that. Nevertheless, that's not a proof. Why not? he's refuting all the different arguments that you might come up with for the umbrella to be forbidden. Maybe it's like, he says, maybe you'll say that it's like the talus, that once you have a string that shows that you're planning to pull it, you're allowed to pull it. So the same thing, or the umbrella is clearly made for opening, like similar to Kilas Chasanim, by the way. It's made for that. You can see it's got poles, everything's ready. Same thing here, everything's ready. So it should be mutter. Why is that not a good argument? I'll read the words of Kilas Chasanim, and you'll know the answer right away. Kilas Chasanim she'ein begaga tafach. Exactly. The Kilas Chasanim is only mutter because it doesn't have a tafach. The same thing with Talas Kfula didn't have. Well, when it's closed, it's no problem. The opening is the problem. When you open it, you're creating a roof of a tefach. And a string doesn't help you for that. Okay, so then he comes up with another argument that you might say, and then he refutes. Maybe you'll say, it's like a folding chair. He said, you're allowed to open a folding chair because everything is made already. Ah, that's it. The folding chair is not made for protection. And even the chuppah, where it says you can open the chuppah on Shabbos, that's not protection either. We said that's honor. That's not protection. So, is there anything else that he says and refutes? Let me just check in my notes here. Oh, what about the roof of a sukkah? What about the roof of a sukkah? The Ramah says, no, Ramah says that if you have a retractable roof on your sukkah, you're allowed to close it and open it on Yantif because it's like a door. We mentioned this last week. It's like a door.
As long as it's
No. Doesn't say a word about it. Well, the Ramah in Hilchos Sukkah, Tafresh Chavav, the Alter Rebbe brings it, that because it's like the hinges of a door, you can close the door on Shabbos, and close the sukkah roof on Shabbos, no problem. He doesn't say it has to be a tefach closed.
and also to be space less than a tefach in this part and the
No, doesn't say that.
So it can be even more than a tefach.
Exactly.
So look at that oil.
Exactly.
Because
it's made for that. So he says here, it's made for it. Amish made for it. He says no. He says two things. First of all, he says over there, it's part of an existing structure. There's a structure. This is the door of that structure. It's nullified to that structure. The structure already exists. And this is just the door to that structure. So you're just closing the door. Over here, there is no structure. You're creating the structure. You're making it. You can't consider it the door. The door of what? You're making it now for the first time. It's nothing. It's a stick. You're making it into a protection. Over there, it's just part of a room. There's a room, and part of it is the roof, which isn't closed yet. Okay, it's like the door that's part of the house. Here, there's nothing yet. Anyway, he says that Ramah is talking about where you already have walls, and you're just adding the roof. Whereas if you would actually have something that's going to open walls and roof, no way. What if you have a pop-up sukkah? You'll say, "What? It's like a door. It's like hinges." Can you just pop out the sukkah on Shabbos? No. That's not allowed because you're making the walls too. It's only if the walls are made before. And like he says before, the umbrella is like walls. It has the roof, it has walls. Bottom line is, he says, maybe it's a chiyuv chatas, maybe not, because he's not sure if it doesn't reach the floor. And therefore he says, definitely you can't open it on Shabbos. Maybe there are, maybe there are, he's not sure. For sure, Rabbanon, at least there are. Now, if it's open before Shabbos, he says maybe it's only Maras Ayin, because people won't realize it was open before Shabbos. He says Maras Ayin by Rabbanon is also a problem, by the way, in a public place. One second, I want to finish. Maras Ayin for Darais is also in a private place. Maras Ayin for Rabbanon is also in a public place. So therefore, it's a problem. Now he says it could be that it's more than Maras Ayin, even if it's open before, because from the case of the hat, those that forbid a hat, obviously you're not creating the hat, so the hat was there before. Nevertheless, when you put it over your head, that's when it becomes an oil. So maybe it's the same thing here. So he's not sure if it's only Maras Ayin or if it's actually Asar. Yes.
Yeah, that's a couple from any type of report that the space in between, basically it's going to be more sun coming through the shades of you. It's going to be awesome. This doesn't make for protection because it doesn't give the protection.
So why are you wearing it? Half protection. Half protection is a problem. Now, if it's less than a tefach, it's not going to be. It's never going to be deraisa, but midrabanan, it's still a problem.
So you cannot use this umbrella.
No. You're doing it for protection. You're doing it for protection, even though it's not the best protection, but you're doing it for protection. Okay, my friends, along comes the Chassam Sofer and he says, no, not so fast. Chassam Sofer says, listen here, in my city, many people use it. Many people use it themselves. Many people have goyim opening it for them. They use it. I'm not going to stop them. Even though he says, Shem Menafshe Yichik Man, person who guards his soul will stay far away from it. Right? It's not a good thing. Doesn't recommend it. Nevertheless, he's not going to be Marish Oilam Negdam. He's not going to shake the world against them. And he brings a Yerushalmi. The Yerushalmi says that if you build in a temporary way, you're pater. The Yerushalmi asks on itself, what do you mean? In the Mishkan, which is where we learn all the malachas of Shabbos, the building was temporary. They built it and they took it down. They built it and they took it down 42 times. The Gemara answers. There, the Hashem told them to camp, and Hashem told them to leave. So because Hashem told them to camp, even though it was temporary, it's considered permanent. As long as you're there, it's permanent. Like Rabbi Glick, or Rabbi Avram Glick, is a shliach to Melbourne, Australia. So he told me when he was a shliach in Boston area somewhere, he was it wasn't working out. He was going to have to leave, but he was still there for a few months. So the Rebbe said to him in a private audience, even though you're leaving, you shouldn't pack your bags yet. Meaning to say, as long as you're there, you have to be fully effective, fully, engaged. So when in that context, it was doing the shlichus of the Rebbe and teaching children, whatever he was doing. You can't make it like temporary, even though it is temporary. But you're doing holy work; it has to be permanent. Anyway, the bottom line is, the Chassam Sofer says, when it comes to something that's not al pi Hashem, we see from the Yerushalmi that temporary is d'Rabbanan. Clearly, this umbrella is temporary. You open and close it before, if you're rainstorm, open, close. So it's definitely not permanent. There's no question that it's not going to be a deraisa. That goes without saying, says the Chassam Sofer. Second of all, he says, because it's moving around and you're carrying it with you, it's nothing like the Mishkan. The Mishkan was, it stayed in place. Here you're carrying it with you. How could it be deraisa? Now the truth is, we see from those that argue on Rashi that a hat could be an oil, right? Even though you're carrying it with you. But he's not saying that it's mutter. He's saying it's not deraisa. Can't be deraisa. He starts off saying it can't be deraisa. That's his main point. Can't be deraisa. Sorry? Some say for you.
What about the umbrella that's made from wood and
Still made from protection.
Yeah, I think that's
You don't carry it as a
It's more like a parasol. Like.
What's a parasol?
It's not more like a parasol. Like
What's a parasol?
it's more of a fashion type of umbrella type of thing. Like I picture like
Yeah,
women
yeah.
carrying it on the thing, like
They're not,
Style.
they don't use it above the head.
yeah, they're carrying it on. So it's like a stylish type.
It's open, but it,
I don't know.
It's
Design.
still open.
but it's designed.
Presumably,
Sun.
presumably it's for the
Parasol
sun.
means it up against the sun.
Presumably it's still for the sun. Presumably. Even if not, it's Marasayan.
Protection.
Even if not, it's not less than Marasayan.
Okay,
Not
if
less than
you
Marasayan.
take umbrella, don't use it for protection. You would say made for protection, but you're not using it for protection.
I'm saying it's not less than Marasayan. Not less than
We're going to
Marasayan.
make new, what kind of wire sign is that? Say like, any
Marasayan.
type of wire sign is just not allowed because other people think so. Suspect you of doing such a bad act of opening up.
Huh?
Not that there's a xera of wire sign here. We say that it's not good to do because Vayitim Yakim Yashon.
Yeah. There's a true Moshe that Marasayan is what the Chachamim consider Marasayan. We don't make it up on our own. So, I don't know. So, another reason he says is that Tosfos says that in order for it to be proper walls, which a roof without walls is not the Raisa, it has to reach the floor. What's the Tosfos? Well, these don't reach the floor, obviously, so it can't be Deraisa. Now listen to some Sefer's next argument. Once we establish that it's Rabbanan, now we can use the heter of the talus with the string. Why is a talus mutter to open up with the string, he says? Because it's be'etzem Rabbanan. Because it doesn't have a tefach roof, so no matter what you do, it's not going to be Deraisa. So now the string is enough. So now he applies it over here, even though it has a tefach roof. But the fact is, the whole nature of the umbrella is that it's only Rabbanan, can't be Deraisa. So then we can apply that same heter of the string of the talus. And therefore he says, certainly if a guy does it, no big deal. Definitely not aser minatayra. Probably even aser Rabbanan. Like I said, nevertheless, man. But it's interesting how the Chassam Sofer builds it up. First, he says everybody's using it, so I'm not going to be the one to, come out and make a big stink, because once people are using it, there's a thing that, Klal Yisrael has a sense of what's right and what's wrong, and if they're already using it, let's see if we can find them a heter. Not that he recommends it; he recommends not to. But he's not so fast to say that everybody's doing an Issa Deraisa.
What's the security guard open the umbrella when it helps not to cross from the shore there's a fell?
You mean if the security guard holds it for him?
Yeah.
Hamachaya. That's not Marasayan. Everybody will see that the security guard is holding it, not him.
But they have no problem to use it, to go with it?
No, security guard is making it. You're allowed to walk under an oil. Oh, you mean because he made it for you? Yeah, according to the Noda B'Yehuda, maybe. That he made it for you, you can benefit. Yeah, but I'm saying you could rely on the Chassam Sofer, to use it. All right, my friends, we're going to have to call it a night, but you can already see how we're going to be leading from this discussion into a discussion about a baby stroller, whether you should be allowed to close up the baby stroller or not.
Rabbi Bosner seemed to follow the strain usually of Chasam Sofer.
The what, the one?
Didn't we learn, maybe not in Shabbos, but Rabbi Bosner was kind of following Chasam Sofer in a lot of issues.
The Hungarian Rabbanim, for them, Chasam Sofer is the last word. So the Rav Vosner is definitely on that path.
On that path, that's right.
Yeah, but not for umbrellas.
Right. Yeah.
Umbrellas are, I mean, if you want the language of the Shmir Shabbos K'el Chasei, here's the language of the Shmir Shabbos K'el Chasei when it comes to umbrellas. Geder Godru Gedolei Haderes. The Gedolei Haderes made a fence, and they said not to open a umbrella and not to close them and not to use them, even if there's an Eruv. Notice he never says it's Aser. He says they made a fence. It's not so clear, but that's what they made.
But that's kind of what the Chasam Sofer said, even when it sounded like he was a bit more lenient. He's almost saying like, I wouldn't do it. That's what he's saying. I wouldn't do it, but I'm not going to tell you not to do it.
Exactly, yeah. Yes.
What was this case of the?
A poncho does not have any firmness. It has to be firm. If it's soft, it's never a problem. Any garment that's soft is not a problem. It's not a tent. It's a garment. Can you engineer a Shomer Shabbos umbrella? What about the hat umbrellas that are open all the time?
I was thinking that would be engineered.
I mean, can you engineer Shomer Shabbos umbrella?
That's your uncle. He's the one that engineers all these contraptions. He just can't hurt himself again.
I will turn that question back to you, Yosef, and I will say, can you engineer Shomer Shabbos umbrella? That'll be your homework for tonight. And if you can please let us know tomorrow, we're interested in knowing. That's first of all.
What was this case of opening the talus with a string?
I'm sorry, opening the?
Talus with a string. What is that?
That's what we started today with.
Oh, okay. It's just
talus over a string, and it doesn't have a flat roof with tefach, and it has like a handle attached to it. You can pull it across.
Oh, I see. So the string is like the handle.
Sorry?
The string is like the handle then.
String is just like the handle. That shows that you're planning to do it, so you're allowed to do it.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
What about the hat umbrellas that are open all the time? So there's not going to be any maris ayin if they're open all the time. But the question is, are they usher as a hat? You know what I'm saying? Because some hats are usher. You know, like the Taz is heter, that the hat is not mostly for protection, is not going to apply, because that hat is clearly for protection. According to Rashi, it's mutter, but according to those that argue in Rashi, it would seem clear that is a hat that is us, if it extends a tefach beyond your hat. All right, my friends, I wish you a good evening.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure.